Today we're working on a brand new 2026 Hyundai Tucson, and I'm going to show you how to change the oil step by step. This is one of Hyundai's most popular SUVs right now, and like most modern vehicles, it's running full synthetic oil and has a pretty straightforward service process. But there are a few things you want to pay attention to. Under the hood, this Tucson has a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine, and it typically takes about 6 quarts of 0W-20 full synthetic oil with a filter. Now, Hyundai recommends longer oil change intervals, sometimes up to 7,500 to 10,000 miles. But depending on how you drive and where you drive, you may want to service this a little bit sooner. In this video, I'll walk you through the entire process, show you the tools you need, and point out a few specific things to this vehicle that will make the job easier. Let's get started. Before we get started on here, I wanted to mention that I pulled the owner's manual from this vehicle, and it's got the abridged version in there. Inside the owner's manual, they don't give you the oil specification, what type it takes, the quantity during an oil change, or any of those details. So we had to pull that from our information system for the repair side. But if you're looking for that information in your owner's manual, see if you have the full owner's manual somewhere, not the abridged version. You're going to find the hood release latch right under here. We're going to flip that to the passenger side. Once you get under the hood, there's a location here with an arrow on it. This is where you can place your hood prop. That little yellow tab will go in there. Let's talk about the location of some of the items that are on here. We've got the oil fill cap right here. It shows the weight of the oil on there is 0W-20. We've got washer fluid here in this blue cap. There's a little picture of a windshield with some water squirting. We've got your engine coolant here. That's this pink fluid in this white reservoir. You've got brake fluid over here. You'll want to check that as well. And we want to take a look at the battery. We want to at least check the terminals over here and make sure there's no corrosion around the positive battery terminal or the negative battery terminal on this side. This is a good opportunity to check the air filter. Let's go ahead and pop this open. There's a little lift tab in the front. There's a couple of lock tabs. Once you open this up, you'll want to flip those down. And then you can pull the center of this, bring your filter out. And then we want to check all the pleats on here and make sure there's no debris in there. You could knock it out on the ground, knock some dust out, and then you can slide it right back in. Make sure you put it in the correct direction. It's hard to get in upside down. It's not going to go that way. But we want to make sure that we have these locking tabs facing towards us so we can lock them again. So you push it up a little, you can lock the tabs, and then just close the lid on it. It's always good to check your oil condition and level before you do a service. This way you can check to see if there's any oil consumption going on. Now the Hyundai owner's manual in here says that it's possible to have some oil consumption for the first 4,000 miles. Now this is probably true of any vehicle as the rings are seating. It's possible to lose a little bit of extra oil past the rings. So it's a good idea to check the oil. This is the first oil change on this car at 5,700 miles. So it's always a good idea when you're doing the first oil change that you check the oil level before you do the service. Let's take a look here. So this one looks good. We're right here at the full mark. You can see there's a low mark over here and a crosshatch pattern in between. That's where the oil level should be between when we're done servicing it as well. Let's get the oil cap off. Make sure the O-ring is intact here and make sure it's clean. I like to wipe it off. And the same thing with the sealing surface at the valve cover in here. You want to take a rag and wipe that off. Make sure you don't knock any debris if there's dust and dirt in here down inside the hole where you fill the oil, okay? We'll just leave that upside down here. Another trick I like to do when we're servicing cars in the garage here, I always take the dipstick and I leave it out, okay? It just reminds me and everybody else that's in the garage, this car doesn't have any oil in it. This way it's just a little reminder. Don't start the car for some reason, or make sure you check the oil level before the car runs at all. Okay, so we'll just leave that dangling there. Let's top up the washer fluid. Okay. This is a good opportunity to mention if you're checking your coolant level, on the front of this reservoir there is a minimum line and a maximum line. When the coolant is cold, we want it to be between those levels. When it's hot, it'll be closer to the maximum. When it's cold, it'll be closer to the minimum. So make sure that that's full in there. And also you want to check your brake fluid, the same thing. There's going to be minimum maximum levels on the reservoir. So if you want to pull your cap off, you can take this off and take a peek inside, but you'll see from the side the minimum maximum levels on there. In the front of the engine here, there's going to be 2 drive belts on here. One of these belts runs the alternator and air conditioning compressor, and then there's a skinny belt towards the back side of the engine that drives the water pump. It's a good idea to check those belts as well. Just see if they look intact. There's no fraying, cracking, any of those things. We don't expect to see that with 5,700 miles, so I'm not too worried about it on this car, but if you're doing yours, you want to check those pretty regularly as well. Let's get the car up in the air and take a look underneath. Quick service reminder. You guys know we love hearing from you in the comments. I like to go in there and answer as many of your comments as I can. I want to see what you guys are interested in. I like to get your thoughts. I'm learning from you people as well as you guys are learning from me. I love this interaction. I think it's great for us. It certainly helps our channel grow as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video with people you think that can use this information. We're putting this content out for you guys to help you make your life a little bit easier and help you navigate the auto repair world. So thanks for following along with us, and let's get back to the video. So I wanted to mention, we warmed up this vehicle before we got ready to change the oil here, and you should do the same, get it up to operating temperature, and this way the oil will come out faster and more completely. What we need to do under here is get access to the oil filter, which is underneath a cover here, and then we need to get access to the oil drain plug, which is underneath a separate cover here. I'll be using a couple tools to take these off. I got this clip removal tool. You could also use a flathead screwdriver. It will work just fine to pop the top portion of the clip downward. And then I've got a 10mm socket here. I've got this on a little 1/4" impact tool, or you can use just a regular ratchet and a socket will be fine. Let me show you how some of these clips come out. We've just got a little retainer on here. We're just going to grab the edge of it, pop it downward, and then you'll see here that this tab has released. So we've got two on the oil filter cover. This oil filter cover also has a flange on here that slides into a slot. So when we're putting this back up, I want to make sure we get that in there correctly. We're going to do something similar for the oil drain plug cover. There's two 10mm bolts. One here on the side. And then we've got two more of these pop clips. Same process. Just pry them downward. And this cover is going to come out very similar to the other one. It's got this tab on it. Okay, set that aside. Underneath here, we've got the drain plug, and under here, we've got the oil filter housing. Before we get messy, it's a good opportunity to put our rubber gloves on. I've got here set up a 3/8 drive ratchet, a short extension, and this is an 8mm Allen head tool. And we're going to put this in the bottom of this oil drain. We're going to loosen this. This is going to help us drain the oil filter cartridge housing before we take it off. As you see, we've got this short plug here. Let's go ahead and remove the oil filter cartridge housing. I'm using a 27mm socket on here with a 3/8 drive ratchet and that short extension again. There's our oil filter. This oil filter clips onto the housing. There's a few tabs on here. So when we put the new one in, we're going to want to push it back in until it clicks. Okay? So we'll pull that filter back off. Let's talk about what's in this kit here. I've got a new O-ring for the cartridge housing. I've got a new drain plug washer for the drain plug. I've got a new filter here. And I like to match this filter up to the old one. Just make sure the diameter looks the same. Everything matches up height-wise. And then here also they've given us a new drain for the cartridge as well with a new O-ring on it. So we'll be using that as well. First thing you need to do is dig out the old O-ring. So this O-ring is sitting here. It's kind of hard to see, but it's sitting around the perimeter of the recessed portion here past the threads. So I'm using a small pick here, and I'm just going to get in here and try to dig this out. We'll see if we can pry it out of here. Now it does have a little tab on here if you want to use some needle nose pliers. But there's the tab on it, and then you can grab it with some needle nose pliers there if you can't dig it out with the pick. Let's get our new O-ring out. There's the new one, and it also has the tab on it, so it's important that this tab faces outward. We don't want it facing inward, otherwise it's not going to seal properly. Okay, let's put a little oil on that. Just using a little dab of our new oil. We'll run it around this O-ring, and we'll put it back inside this slot. It's a good opportunity to go ahead and just wipe anything out in here. It should be clear in here. It's got all the oil's been circulating through this, so as long as you didn't introduce any dirt, shouldn't be anything in there, but it's always good to wipe it out. We'll install the new O-ring in here. Make sure that's seated all the way. Then we'll take our new filter and we're going to stick it back on these fingers that are in here until it clicks. Now it won't fall out. We're ready to reinstall this. Just wiping off the mating surfaces up here, make sure everything's clear. We'll spin this back into place. We'll use that 27mm socket on the big portion of the filter housing. We'll run that up until it sits flush, and then we can torque that. I grabbed my digital torque wrench here. I've got the setting set to 19 foot-pounds. We're going to use this same setup here. Just going to remove the ratchet and we'll torque it down to the specification. Okay. Next, we're going to install the drain for the filter cartridge housing. We're just going to put another little dab of oil around the O-ring that's on here, and then we'll install this by hand. There is a torque spec on here. It says 4 Newton meters. That's about 2.5 foot-pounds. I doubt you'll have a torque wrench that small, but it's important to know you don't over-tighten this. It's just plastic going into plastic. The O-ring is doing the sealing, so let's just put it in there and make it snug. I'll be using the same 8mm Allen head that we used to take it off. And we just want to be real careful with this, especially with a 3/8 ratchet. This is not going to be very tight at all. Just run it until it seats and it snugs up. Next, to drain the oil, I'll be using this 17mm socket with the same setup we had before, 3/8 drive. Just going to break this loose counterclockwise, and we'll drain it into our drain pan. Now, what I like to do with these, if you watch my other oil change videos, I'm loosening this, but I'm pushing into the pan while I'm loosening this bolt. So I'm holding it really tight to try to seal the threads up on it until I get to the very last thread where it's wobbly. And then I'm going to pull it out quickly. I'm just going to drop this drain plug right into my drain bucket. Now, you can try to hold on to it if you want. I find it's less messy if I just drop it in there. I'll fish it out later with a magnet if I need to. This one drains all the way down anyway, so I won't even need to do that. But if you're dropping yours into a bucket full of oil, you might want to have a magnet ready to fish it out, or you're going to have to drain your oil down a bit to get it later. Or you can just hold on to it. It's your choice, but I'll show you how this looks. And then we'll just let this drain completely for a few minutes. We'll come back and we'll start putting it back together. I like to check the tire pressures while the oil is draining, so this is a good opportunity. While I have the car in the air, I just kind of run around with my tire inflator and my tire gauge, and I'll check all 4 tire pressures. I'm going to set these to 35 PSI.
Maybe, but I have no
Okay, so we've got 35 there. Now you can find this information, what to inflate it to, in the driver's side B-pillar. So in the door jamb there, when you open your door, if you look to the right on the driver's side door, you're going to see some information in there on a couple of placards. There'll be one in there with the tire information on it, tire size and tire pressures as well. This is 35 PSI cold. So these tires have not just been driven on the freeway here. We want to make sure they've been sitting for a little bit so they're cooling down. We'll go ahead and do all 4 of them, and it's not a bad idea either to check the spare tire at least every other oil change. I mean, it's probably good to do it every oil change. I know it's not easy to access, but the spare won't do you any good if it doesn't have any air in it, so don't forget that one. While this oil's still draining, we're waiting for that. I'm also going to change the drain plug washer on here. So there is one that's kind of stuck to this plug. Now, these can be a little tricky to get off. I'll show you a couple of little tricks here you can do. One thing you can do here is just take a small flat screwdriver and just try to pry it underneath and twist a little bit. Okay. If that's not working, we'll have to go a little more aggressive here. And that's why I brought over some pliers. Sometimes you'll have to grab the end of this washer and try to twist it out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab just the washer with my pliers. I'm going to try to hold that and see if I can twist this and break it loose a little. Okay, now with it cracked loose, you should be able to pull it off. All right. Let's wipe off any debris from the drain plug itself. Make sure it's nice and clean. You can install your new drain plug washer on there. And our oil's conveniently come down to a slow drip here. We're ready to put the drain plug back in. So I'm going to wipe the mating surface on here as well. And then we'll go ahead and run this in by hand. So clockwise, thread it in until it stops. You can take your wrench if you want, 17mm. Snug it up, and then we'll torque it with the torque wrench. So I've got my torque wrench set up to 29 foot-pounds. That's the spec for this drain plug. And then we're just going to go ahead and tighten this up until it tells us we're done. We got some red lights and some beeping going on with this tool. I like to check it a couple times, 2-3 times, make sure we're torqued. Okay. Now that we've run the engine and let the oil circulate, fill the oil filter housing up, it's time to check the oil level again. We wanted to let this sit at least 30 seconds after you shut it off to make sure most of that oil is drained back into the pan so the level is correct. Let's go ahead and check it. All right, we're looking pretty good here. So we're right in the middle, maybe to the top third of the crosshatch pattern. So we could add a splash more oil in here. The spec on it is 6.1 quarts, so we could probably add another 1/10 of quart, bring that level up just a touch, which we'll do, and that will do it for filling the oil. Now that we've completed the dirty work, let's close the hood, get you inside the car, and show you how to reset the oil life index on it. So to reset the oil service interval in here, I'll start the car up. You can get into the setup screen here. Go to your vehicle and go into convenience. Then in here you've got a couple of options here for service interval, and then you've got also for oil change reminder. So if you want to reset your oil change reminder, you can just hit reset on there. Has the oil been changed? Press yes to reset. And reset that. Now your oil life will be reset again. We've got 100% remaining and we're good to go. All right, guys, well, that wraps up our 2026 Hyundai Tucson oil change tutorial. I hope you followed along all those steps. It's pretty straightforward. Nothing too sneaky in here. Reset your oil life index when you're done, each time you're done changing the oil. This way you get that reminder. And like I said earlier in the video, you may want to service your oil more frequently. I think I wouldn't go any more than 5,000 miles on this oil change with synthetic. I think anything higher than that's going to be excessive. All these Hyundais and Kia products have had a lot of issues with engine problems and things. Don't risk it on your car. Preventive maintenance goes a long way. If you guys can be changing your oil at least every 5,000 miles or even sooner, it's going to go a long way to the longevity of your engine and the overall longevity of your car, of course, and keep your expenses low. So thanks for following along. Hope you enjoyed this content. If you have any questions, go ahead and hit us up in the comments and we'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.